I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
I'm not a saint, that I am a work in progress, but I will not be held hostage by my past.
Blake Lively, guys, is mentioned in the Epstein files, and it's not looking good for her at all.
Jeffrey Epstein's contact list boasted some big names in Hollywood. Alec Baldwin, Mick Jagger, and Michael Jackson, just some of the high-profile people uncovered in newly released documents from the Justice Department.
Actually, I could fly back early on the 3rd. We will be in St. Bart's. We should head to your island on the 2nd. Yeah. That's from Elon Musk.
Talking of all you
all that stuff I said in the show was true. I said, oh, I'm going to write my own jokes. Right? And I thought, who do I pander to? The 200 richest people in the room, or the 200 million people watching at home who aren't winning awards, who aren't millionaires? And it was a no-brainer.
Those faces did not all come from the same movie, but somehow they all ended up connected to the same story. A story that stretches from Epstein's Florida conviction in 2008 to his early release in 2009, then all the way to his second arrest in 2019, followed by the hundreds of pages the Department of Justice eventually released online years later. Those pages were packed with emails, guest lists, and FBI reports that mentioned celebrities by name. Tonight is not about proving every rumor is true. It is about putting together the facts we already know, the convictions, the emails, the court files, and comparing them with the people Hollywood told the public to admire, along with the comedians who stopped applauding long before the rest of the world ever saw the documents. And the first thing people need to realize is this: Jim Carrey and Ricky Gervais did not suddenly turn against Hollywood because of one uncomfortable award show moment. They had been watching this pattern grow for years. In 2022, right after Will Smith walked onto the Oscars stage and slapped Chris Rock, the entertainment industry reacted the way it usually does. It treated the moment like something complicated, gave a standing ovation, and quickly tried to move past it. Jim Carrey saw all of that after spending decades watching Hollywood protect far worse behavior, from casting couch stories and industry secrets to powerful PR machines. And now, a worldwide scandal connected to Epstein's name. And eventually he said out loud what many people inside that system were still too afraid to admit publicly.
I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
There was some question today about if anyone else had walked from the audience and done that, they would have been escorted out by security or maybe even arrested. The police asked Chris if he had to file charges. They asked Chris, do you want to file charges? And Chris apparently said no, he did not.
He doesn't want the hassle. I'd announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million because that video is going to be there forever. It's going to be ubiquitous. You know, that insult is going to last a very long time. If I want to yell from the audience and disapprove or show a disapproval or say something on Twitter or whatever, you do not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody in the face because they said words.
No, I agree. I think we all agree on that. I just thought, Jim, that it escalated to that. You know what I mean? That it escalated to that level.
It didn't escalate. It came out of nowhere because Will has something going on inside him that's frustrated, and I wish him the best. I really do. I don't have anything against Will Smith. He's done great things, but that was not a good moment. It cast a pall over everybody's shining moment last night. You know, a lot of people worked really hard to get to that place and to have their moment in the sun and to get their award for the really hard work they did. And it is no mean feat to go through all the stuff you have to go through when you're nominated for an Oscar. It's a gauntlet of devotion that you have to do. And it was just a selfish moment that cast a pall over the whole thing.
Keep in mind, this is a man who has been famous since the 1990s, someone who lived through the Weinstein era, watched the entire #MeToo movement unfold, and later saw the Epstein files become public. So when Jim Carrey uses words like sickened and spineless, he is not reacting to just one slap on stage. He is reacting to more than 30 years of watching Hollywood protect its own people no matter what happens behind closed doors. And for Jim, it was never only about the major scandals either. He had been quietly questioning the entire act for a very long time, from the red carpets and expensive charity galas to the dramatic speeches about changing the world, all delivered by people who, away from the cameras, were attending the same private parties as billionaires, who later ended up under investigation.
I'm doing just fine. I just, there's no meaning to any of this. So I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to and join, and here I am.
They're celebrating.
I mean, you got to admit, it's completely meaningless.
Well, they say they're celebrating icons inside.
Celebrating
Do you believe in
icons. Boy, that is just the absolute lowest aiming, possibility that we could come up with. It's like icons. Do you believe in icons? I don't believe in personalities. I don't believe that you exist, but there is a wonderful fragrance in the air.
You don't believe certain icons have the power to make change, to think differently, to be bold, to inspire others? Artistry? You're one of them.
On the good foot. Ha! Yeah. You shut it down now. Yeah, no, I don't believe in icons. I don't believe in personalities. I believe that peace lies beyond personality, beyond invention and disguise, beyond the red that you wear on your chest that makes bullets bounce off. I believe that it's deeper than that. I believe we're a field of energy dancing for itself. And I don't care.
But Jim, you got really dressed up for the occasion. You look good.
No, I didn't
that an
get dressed
accident?
up. I didn't get dressed up.
Who did?
There is no me.
There's no you.
No.
We're not here. This is a dream?
There's just things happening. And there are clusters of tetrahedrons moving around together.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's happening in our world right now? Because there is a lot of news that actually is relevant that's not that
Here's
uplifting.
the thing. It's not our world.
None
That's
of this
the
is
key.
real?
Nope.
So you're just passing
We don't
through.
matter. We don't matter.
Oh, wow.
There's the good news.
Okay.
Timing here is important. While Jim Carrey was laughing in reporters' faces and calling these celebrity events meaningless, Epstein had already served his first prison sentence in Florida, had already been labeled a sex offender, and was quietly rebuilding his connections through the same elite social circles, the same private jets, and the same dinner tables. So when the document releases from 2025 and 2026 finally started revealing parts of those guest lists and email chains, Jim's contempt suddenly looked a lot more justified. He was not just acting strange or trying to be different. He was one of the very few people openly saying that the entire culture around Hollywood and the elite felt deeply rotten. Now imagine taking all of that silent frustration and putting it directly onto a teleprompter in front of some of the most powerful celebrities in the world. That is exactly what Ricky Gervais did at the Golden Globes in January 2020. By then, Epstein was already dead inside a Manhattan jail cell. His first conviction was already more than 10 years old, and names like Jay-Z and Diddy had already started appearing in legal filings and public discussions. Yet the people sitting in that room still carried themselves like they were society's moral leaders.
Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So, if you win, right, come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your God, and off, okay? So, it's already 3 hours long. He obviously didn't himself, just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up. I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
Gervais was not speaking in a vacuum. He was speaking after Epstein's first conviction, after the flight logs had already become public, and after the world had already seen the photos from the island, the mansion, and the massage rooms. Ricky was looking directly at a room filled with people who had flown on those private jets, visited those estates, and attended those private meetings. And he was basically telling them, you no longer get to lecture the public about morality. And the part that feels even more powerful now is what happened after the newest wave of files was released. Once people saw how many entertainers, models, and billionaires remained connected to Epstein even after his 2008 conviction, Ricky's jokes stopped sounding like simple comedy and started feeling more like timestamps in history. He was not only mocking Hollywood, he was pointing out the years when the public, the media, and the industry all chose to ignore what was happening. So from this point forward, we are going to do what almost nobody inside that room was willing to do. We are going to stop acting like we forgot. We are going to take the names that internet investigators and rumor hunters have been discussing for years, Naomi Campbell, Blake Lively, Elon Musk, Tom Hanks, and others, and compare them directly with the timeline, the convictions, the emails, the FBI tips, and the carefully managed interviews. And we are starting with the supermodel whose name reportedly appears in those files more than 200 times. Naomi Campbell spent decades walking the world's biggest fashion runways, but according to the documents, there was another runway hidden from public view, one that connected luxury fashion circles directly into Jeffrey Epstein's network.
Epstein's Black Book of Contacts, arguably now one of the most infamous contact books in the world, contain many names, but only a few names are circled. Naomi Campbell, Janice Dixon, and Chris Royer also appear in this Black Book. Campbell's not only listed in Epstein's Black Book and also owns the Epstein-connected Victoria's Secret, much for their commercial success, she is also intimately connected to one of the few untouchable figures around Epstein that was even flagged by Epstein's own butler as being very much involved with knowledge of this criminal enterprise. And his name is Flavio Briatore, who Naomi Campbell basically dated for quite a while. And I think it's very convenient that she ended up having this relationship with this man who also had yachts and allowed her to have birthdays on these yachts. And I thought that, they claim it was a former friend, but I think that this was a very convenient relationship that basically happened, and Naomi needed to do so in that moment because she knew that, it was great for her career to be with these very powerful men or father figures, which is what she normally saw it as, which is probably why she likes much more older men.
Here is what the files reportedly show. Naomi Campbell first met Epstein in 2001 during her own birthday party in Saint-Tropez after he was invited by her then-boyfriend, billionaire Flavio Briatore. Over the years that followed, she reportedly invited Epstein to several high-profile celebrity events, including her 2004 birthday celebration in Saint-Tropez, a Dolce & Gabbana event in Paris, and even a charity gathering for children in Moscow. Flight logs and emails later confirmed that Epstein attended some of these events and that Naomi flew on his plane multiple times. Victims later told investigators that they had met Naomi at Epstein's homes and on his island. And some even claimed that Epstein used her name to convince teenage girls that a modeling career could be waiting for them. On paper, these are not just harmless social connections. These are convicted offenders and billionaire figures facing disturbing accusations, allegedly using the world of celebrity and fashion as a recruiting tool. And once you realize how many glamorous parties and elite gatherings may have also acted as access points for a predator, Jim Carrey's disgust toward the entire red carpet culture suddenly starts making much more sense. Remember when Jim mocked Hollywood charity galas and people acted like he had lost his mind? Looking back now, the documents seem to support why he became so cynical about men like Epstein. Those celebrity parties were not just decorations for the cameras, they could also become forms of influence and leverage. And once these connections began getting attention in the media, Naomi responded the same way many celebrity crisis teams advise their clients to respond. Go in front of cameras, admit only what cannot be denied, and insist that you never truly understood what was happening behind the scenes.
Yes, I knew him. I was introduced to him on my 31st birthday by my ex-boyfriend Flavio. He was always front and center at Victoria's Secret shows.
Did you suspect what he was doing?
No. And what he's done is indefensible. And when I heard of what he'd done, it sickened me to my stomach, just like everybody else. Because I've had my fair share of predators. And thank God that I had good people around me that protected me from this. I mean, right now I stand with the victims. They're scarred for life.
Here is the part many people tend to forget. Epstein was convicted in Florida in 2008 and officially placed on the sex offender registry. But the newly released files suggest that his connection to Naomi Campbell did not simply end there. According to the documents, he was still being invited to high-profile parties connected to her circle, still appearing around the same elite social groups, and still showing up in emails and event records years later. One review of the files claimed that Naeem's name appeared well over 100 times across messages, guest lists, and interviews, sometimes repeated, but always connected to the same social orbit surrounding Epstein. Her team later stated that she only learned the full truth in 2019 and then completely cut ties with him. But the timeline inside the documents appears to suggest that their social connection may have continued long after his first 2008 conviction. And that gap in the timeline is exactly where conspiracy theories and internet investigators begin focusing their attention. While emails reportedly show Epstein still receiving invitations connected to her side, it becomes difficult not to hear Ricky Gervais in the background mocking that entire room as fake and dishonest. Once you start seeing the pattern, the glamorous parties, the carefully managed I didn't know interviews, and the timelines that never fully line up, it becomes much harder to trust polished Hollywood statements at face value, and that is why the next name on this list feels even more shocking. This was someone the entertainment industry carefully presented as the safe and trustworthy figure, the protective older sister image. Blake Lively was not only marketed as a successful movie star, she was sold to the public as the relatable neighbor, the caring mother, and the woman giving speeches about protecting children from dangerous people online. And that is exactly why the files and footage connected to her now feels so disturbing to many people watching all of this unfold.
For those of you that might be split on this Baldoni saga between her and him and everything that is going on with it, I do suggest you look into these files and look into the fact that her name is mentioned, and not just randomly in websites and media pop-up clicks, but actually mentioned in a pretty weird video where she is mentioned, guys, in a specific invitation in 2013, which is years after Epstein was convicted, but yet still Blake wants to be working, you know, with anti-trafficking situations, very similar to Ashton Kutcher. They want to be, you know, the public face on a pedestal, make speeches and talk about how children are in danger, and definitely want to, you know, follow through with letting people know that they actually want to do the work, when clearly that isn't the case from what I'm thinking. But there is a specific 2013 invitation to Epstein for the 25th anniversary of the New York Observer. And this to me, guys, is deeply concerning because Epstein was invited to the event years after he actually had been convicted in Florida, after he was actually registered. Blake Lively's name, guys, appears amongst a list of individuals inviting Epstein to this must-see celebration and party after he was convicted. Now, if you look at this email, you can see that Blake Lively obviously isn't the only person that was listed, but at the same time, everybody knew that he was an offender at this moment of time. And I think that these social events, these parties, they create this kind of elite atmosphere, you can say, where there are numerous people invited to these social events where there is a tolerance to this behavior, where there's powerful men or people convicted of crimes, and we're just meant to ignore it. And I do feel like Blake was somebody who either connected to IMG, connected to these, you know, big ads where she used to do stuff for modeling gigs and etc. Could be somebody very similar to Heidi and Naomi, where both of them have also been accused of basically being madams or grooming or bringing people into a conversation, and she probably was used to that influence or even seeing that influence, and that is how she learned herself, and therefore demonstrated that influence when it came to the movie and Baldoni, and thought that she could do whatever she wants because she has all of these famous friends and she has all of the money and the coin, and therefore she can be quite dominant in these fields because she continuously goes to these elite social class events.
Here is the context that really matters. By 2008, Epstein was already officially registered as a sex offender in Florida. He had already received his controversial plea deal, and by that point, many people believed he should have become completely untouchable in elite society. But when people began examining the DOJ materials and event records more closely, the same pattern kept appearing again and again. Epstein's name continued showing up on guest lists connected to high-level social events, the exact type of celebrity circles Blake Lively was often surrounded by. The commentary surrounding these documents comes from those logs and related emails that reportedly showed Epstein still receiving invitations into rooms filled with celebrities, executives, and powerful Hollywood figures, even after the public already knew what he had been convicted for. And when Jim Carrey dismisses those glamorous Hollywood nights as meaningless performances, this is the deeper point many people believe he was talking about. Once you begin following the guest list and reading through the email chains, the celebrity gatherings that look magical and perfect on Instagram start feeling less like fairy tales and more like carefully managed systems built around image protection and damage control.
In America, in the United Kingdom, across the globe. And we need to be clear, shamelessness is not and will never be a superpower. It is the mark of a villain. Kidnapping children is not what great nations do. Almost half of America at this moment believes there is a sinister deep state diabolically plotting to what? We in America are misinformed. Reality shows have warped our idea of what a hero is, or what the truth is.
And it was not only about one man either. One of the most revealing moments in Blake Lively's timeline did not happen on a private jet or on a hidden island. It happened during a television interview after the Harvey Weinstein scandal finally exploded into public view, and celebrities everywhere started being questioned about what they knew and when they knew it. Suddenly, the same industry that had spent years protecting powerful figures was being forced to answer uncomfortable questions in front of cameras, and people began paying much closer attention to every reaction, every carefully chosen word, and every silence coming from Hollywood's biggest stars.
Now, another bizarre connection Blake has in Hollywood is Harvey Weinstein. They write Harvey Weinstein's reign as a Hollywood power player was enabled by years of complicity from those in the industry, and Blake Lively's relationship with him raises eyebrows. Like when there were a bunch of people coming out and speaking against Harvey Weinstein, she decided it was the right time to say that she never had any inappropriate interactions with him before, and to state that he was a decent guy.
Like, while we have you here, I want to ask you about this avalanche of information that's coming out about Harvey Weinstein, because the question is, I mean, you're in the industry. How do you think Hollywood moves on from this point? How do you think it can seize this moment and turn it into something positive?
I think it's important that we acknowledge that this isn't just Hollywood. This is so much more global, and it's not just, oh, guess what? This is what's happening to women suddenly. This has been happening since the beginning of time, but now people are finally talking about it. And I think that that's what's important, is that where I never had experiences like this with Harvey myself, I only had positive ones with him, but that goes to show where, you know, you don't always see what's going on behind closed doors. So I think that when people come forward, that your bosses, you have to acknowledge it. You know, there have been moments where I've come forward, where other people have come forward with things that just feel little and you're not sure. But when your bosses tell you that this is not a priority to them, then you think, okay, well then this must not be that big of a deal. Maybe what I'm complaining about isn't really that big of a deal. And it is.
Now, I understand she's trying to stay on the right side of everything, but it also seems like she's doing damage control. Harvey was reportedly one of Blake's biggest champions. He campaigned for her to star in The Great Gatsby remake alongside Leonardo DiCaprio. Ultimately, the role went to Carey Mulligan. Although the collaboration didn't materialize, the public support from Harvey Weinstein cast a shadow over her career trajectory. It makes you question, how much did she benefit from working with Harvey Weinstein, and how many people on her team are connected to this man? I mean, he's locked up, but he was really a big part of Hollywood, so he doesn't fully escape.
Blake does not attack the victims, and she does not try to defend the crimes either, but she responds in the same way this system often responds in the beginning. She narrows the conversation down to her own personal experience, protects her public image, and avoids saying anything that could damage her position inside the powerful circles where careers and opportunities are controlled. It is exactly the kind of behavior Ricky Gervais was criticizing during the Golden Globes. The very same people who stayed silent for years while rumors spread through the industry are often the first ones to step in front of microphones and tell the public what is moral, what is true, and who should or should not be forgiven.
All that stuff I said in the show was true. I said, I'm going to write my own jokes. Right? And I thought, who do I pander to? The 200 richest people in the room, or the 200 million people watching at home who aren't winning awards, who aren't millionaires? and it was a no-brainer. I was doing it for...
Models and actresses are easy for some people to dismiss as just Hollywood drama if they want to. But when the same files and emails start linking to someone widely described as one of the smartest men in the world, people stop scrolling past and actually start paying attention.
One of those names is the world's richest man, Elon Musk. He's always denied any close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, but they exchanged numerous emails trying to arrange a visit for Musk to Epstein's island in the Caribbean. In one of them, Musk goes on to write this: "What day, night will be the wildest party on your island?" Now, Musk has addressed those allegations directly on X. He wrote, "No one pushed harder than me to have the Epstein files released, and I'm glad that has finally happened. I had very little correspondence with Epstein and declined repeated invitations to go to his island or fly on his Lolita Express, but was well aware that some email correspondence with him could be misinterpreted and used by detractors to smear my name. I don't care about that, but what I do care about is that we at least attempt to prosecute those who committed serious crimes with Epstein, especially regarding heinous exploitation of underage girls."
Officially, here is what is on record. Elon Musk's name appears in newly released material as someone Epstein reportedly tried to get close to and may have met. There are references and emails within the archive, but there are no criminal charges connected to those mentions alone. Still, for many people, just seeing Musk's name and Epstein's files mentioned in the same context is enough to challenge the genius image that surrounds him. Because once you stop viewing him as a larger-than-life figure and start seeing him as just another name in an email inbox, the entire narrative begins to feel far less mythical and far more ordinary.
Actually, I could fly back early on the 3rd. We will be in St. Bart's. We should head to your island on the 2nd.
Yeah.
That's from Elon Musk.
That is not a conspiracy meme. It is an email chain. A convicted sex offender circle discussing scheduling time with one of the richest men in the world. And while strangers online debate what that email might mean, the moment that lands the hardest is not coming from a commentator or a YouTuber. It is coming from his own daughter.
Here's his daughter. Here's Elon Musk's trans daughter. Kind of outs him. She posted this on Threads, by the way. I didn't even know people still went to Threads. But here it is. And she says, "I'm going to speak directly." Her name is Vivian Jenna Wilson. "I'm going to speak directly instead of being vague and cryptic. I can confirm we were in St. Bart's at the time specified in the emails, and therefore I believe they are authentic. This has basically already been confirmed through his attempts to paint them as out of context. The Nile is a river in Egypt. I knew nothing about the emails previously, so I'm learning about everything at the same time as y'all. If there are any other information I learned I can corroborate, I will do so." Here's a longer list of here's a longer thread. So that's what she said. It's basically been confirmed. Literally, what the F is my life? LOL. History will remember your reaction to this moment. Life is strange. There was this boat ride from St. Vincent to St. Bart's. I remember from when I was little. We used to visit around the holidays. I remember the sea being so rough at night. So she remembers a boat ride going to St. Bart's when she was a kid around the holidays. And of course, those emails show that he wanted to go to St. Bart's during the holiday.
When a child publicly distances themselves from a parent and aligns with their critics, even small details in those files can start to feel less like random accusations and more like warning signs people ignored. And if seeing a billionaire's name inside those documents already shakes people's trust in the idea of genius, then the next name pushes it into something much more uncomfortable. Because this person was never sold to the public as a tech visionary or a fashion icon. He was sold as something far simpler and safer, the most trusted face Hollywood had, almost like America's dad. Tom Hanks is the last person most people would want to associate with anything even remotely connected to Epstein, which is exactly why any mention of his name in these discussions has sparked so much debate online. Alongside that, his comments over the years about power dynamics and the darker side of Hollywood have only added fuel to speculation in certain online communities. And when you listen closely to how he speaks about the industry he has worked in for decades, it becomes clear why people start re-examining everything through a more skeptical lens.
I think there was knowledge amongst a certain group of people, mostly who did business with Harvey Weinstein. I think in an awful lot of the of the dialogue that I've read that come out, there are countless women who understood that that's what happened, and there were many people who said, well, that's just Harvey being Harvey.
Well, that's the question. Is it how serious is it? Is it about one person, one man, or is it a culture?
You and I, and even the likes of the people on the Turner Classic Movies, constantly understand that the idea of the casting couch that existed in Hollywood is the part of both myth and concrete reality. The idea that there are predators in power, not just in Hollywood, I think all across any place there's a boss with underlings in any corporation or any industry, you have a type of politics that goes on that can slide in between appropriate ethics and decorum to, inappropriate behavior to the point of and predatory behavior.
Casting couch has been a real part of Hollywood for as long as the industry has existed. When anyone else says it, it sounds like a blunt but honest observation. But when it comes from someone the industry often positions as its moral mascot, it lands in a very different way, especially for people who also point to his name appearing in FBI tips connected to Epstein's wider social network. In longer interviews, he has gone even further, raising broader questions about power, exploitation, and mistreatment in the entertainment world, the kinds of topics Hollywood often...
The larger question, is there a culture of complicity in Hollywood where women are afraid to speak up because they'll be blacklisted, men are afraid to speak up because either they're out of the same fear or they just think, well, this is the way the system works?
I think there are people that say, hey, this is how it works, pure and simple, and this is why I got into it, and this is why I have power. This is how it works, and you have to understand that. That does not carry the day. Complicity is also complicity. The people who know, well, look, this is how we do business, and that's what it's got to be done. I'm sorry it's like that. So beware. That's also present, without a doubt, but it does not carry the day. There's also people that were afraid to speak out, who were victims, that did not go forward, that signed, negotiated settlement deals of which a non-disclosure agreement was part and parcel to it. That also does not carry the day. So the dam has burst here in a big way. And it is not just the halls of places like Harvey Weinstein's office where this was standard operating procedure. And it is criminal, and it is cause for termination. It's also happening in every other corner of not just my industry, but yours and throughout all of America.
Do you think this is a kind of tipping point?
Well, I think it absolutely is, in which everybody is asking, men and women, women, what do I put up with and when do I talk about? And men saying, I think we have to live by a code of ethics that we need to think and put down on paper. Don't be surprised if, there's going to be a sign in front of every one of the studio gates that will say all people entering this studio will obey this code of ethics or they will be escorted from the premises. And that will all be about and predatory behavior.
On the surface, he appears to be doing the right thing, speaking about the issue, naming the problem, and sounding both thoughtful and angry about it. But within the DOJ document release, there is a victim tip submitted to federal prosecutors that reportedly mentions Tom Hanks and Jeb Bush in connection with Epstein's social network. It is not a conviction, and it is only one entry among many hotline-style reports, but it has still been heavily discussed online. For people who already distrust these systems, even seeing a figure often called America's Dad referenced anywhere in that kind of material is enough to raise questions and fuel speculation.
When you worship the all-high and the evil, that you have to symbolize your work and who you worship. They do it hidden right in your face. It's called karmic retribution. If they tell you who they worship without you realizing who they actually worship, they feel that they don't face judgment for their actions. Nothing is accidental in this world, beautiful people, especially these entities on the world stage that have been manipulating our reality for as long as we can remember. But obviously, as always, this was just for entertainment, beautiful people. Like Tom Hanks is just clearly doing that hand symbol as a random gesture once again, and him being dressed as a woman and doing implications are just, innocent. And now the fact that he's in the Epstein files has nothing to do with all of this crazy history that you can find on Tom Hanks. And obviously, you know, like I said, just a coincidence.
That is all conspiracy culture really needs. From that point onward, every old clip of him, every unusual hand gesture, every speech about big picture issues, and every moment that feels slightly too polished gets pulled into the same kind of montage. It all gets re-edited with symbolic meanings, ominous captions, and that repeated idea that some kind of immunity has been stripped away from powerful elites.
I see some major judges, including one Supreme Court justice. We will certainly see at least one vice president, possibly two. George Bush and Dick Cheney are out there. I've seen 3 different witnesses say Tom Hanks is a... It's not just the Catholic Church. It's the Mormon Church, and it's the Christian Zionists, the evangelicals that believe in the red calf and the apocalypse and all that. All of these people are pedophiles at the top, and some of them are pedophiles. All these people that have been doing very evil things with impunity up to now are all of a sudden starting to realize their immunity blanket is being stripped away.
You were invited by President Clinton to spend the night. Tell me about what you recall from that.
That was a long time ago. There was always a lot of people in the Clinton White House. And so there's no smaller part of, holy cow, I'm in the White House. This is a big, big deal. I will tell you, there was one time we happened to be in the White House, didn't spend the night. Me and the family had been in Washington, D.C. We were dedicating the National World War II Memorial at its opening. George W. Bush was president. I sat next to him, and we chit-chatted a little bit during the ceremony that was out on the mall. And we had arranged, my younger kids had not been in the White House ever, so we were able to arrange for a tour. And it was a Sunday, so it was a day off. And so when he was going to come down and I guess go to the gym or something, we were sort of like asked to go stand in one of the other rooms. But my wife had gone.
Any of that proof? No. The official record still shows it as a single tip and no charges. But in the same way Nama's party lists and Blake's events look different after Epstein's conviction, Tom's public comments about predatory behavior start to feel, for some viewers, less like a safe lecture and more like someone describing a fire that he believes could reach anyone. So now you have seen how jokes, interviews, and documents begin to overlap in ways that feel, to certain audiences, too consistent to completely ignore. And if this is how things appear when the records are finally released and examined, people start asking what it says about the names that still do not appear anywhere at all. At what point do you stop calling it coincidence and start questioning whether the culture around these figures was part of the environment that allowed things to stay hidden for so long?